Good evening and thank you for joining us. Beijing will soon launch new policies to stimulate the mainland economy. The Ministry of Finance is set to unveil targeted policy measures to address debt risks of local governments and help the property market to stop falling and to stabilize. The direction of the latest fiscal policies was announced in a press conference by Finance Minister Lan Fengwan. Lan said new measures include boosting the scale of fiscal expenditure and optimizing tax policies. The package of targeted incremental measures, meanwhile, includes a one-time increase in debt quotas on a large scale and support to local governments to resolve hidden debts.
需要强调的是
Lan said the upcoming policy is the biggest effort in recent years to support debt resolution. That, he said, serves as timely rain to substantially ease the debt issuance burden on local governments, free up resources for economic growth and boost confidence among businesses. In relation to the property market, the Ministry of Finance will support the issuance of local government special bonds to take back idle land and purchase second-hand housing that hasn't been lived in, so as to stop the real estate market from falling and to stabilize. A special treasury bonds too to back state-owned commercial banks to supplement core Tier 1 capital with aims to shore up banks' ability to defend against risks and provide credit, so as to better serve the development of the real economy. This year, the Ministry of Finance will issue the ultra-long special treasury bonds to facilitate the implementation of major national strategies. Lan also said Beijing has increased support for key groups with more than 10 trillion yuan earmarked for local governments to support livelihood and wage-related policies. Lan also underscored China's fiscal resilience. He said the annual budget can break even. Kevin Taii, the head of research at a think tank, said the policy focus on property market reflects Beijing's wish to drive consumption through the real estate market. Li Zhejiang, a mainland economist, said more large-scale stimulus measures could be on the way to boost domestic economy, possibly after the November meeting of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress. A leading infectious disease expert has warned the winter influenza will peak around December, with possible twin peaks spread by different virus strains. Professor Ivan Hung, Chair Professor of Infectious Disease at the University of Hong Kong, also urges the elderly and children to be vaccinated against the flu as soon as possible. With the weather getting cooler gradually, the government has launched its annual influenza vaccination program for 2 weeks. Ivan Hung, Chair Professor of Infectious Diseases of the Department of Medicine at the University of Hong Kong, said the current flu activity level remains low but could ratchet up in around 2 months with double peaks. He said winter twin peaks might be led by an outbreak of influenza A subtype H3, followed by a spread driven by the H1 strain after 1 to 2 months. Dr. Hung said there could be a slight increase in influenza B cases as well. He said flu-induced complications will also beleaguer the accident and emergency department, so he is urging the city's elderly and children to get vaccinated as soon as possible. For children afraid of needle inoculation, Hung said they can opt for a nasal spray vaccine. He said the nasal spray vaccine is a type of live-attenuated vaccine which is suitable for people from 2 to 50 years old. But it is not recommended for pregnant women or people with immunodeficiency, such as those who have had a transplant. As for the city's COVID situation, Hung said the KP.2 virus strain circulating in Hong Kong is lower in the severity. But he said it still cannot be treated lightly and recommended the vaccine targeting the JN.1 strain, which will arrive in Hong Kong next month. Also, noting the recent surge in dengue fever cases in Guangdong, Hung said the vaccines that protect against the disease are available in Singapore but not in Hong Kong. He said residents could take precautions by removing stagnant water and avoiding grassy places 2 hours before sunrise and sunset. On a San Francisco-bound Cathay Pacific flight on Wednesday, an elderly man was arrested by U.S. police on suspicion of causing a nuisance. Cathay Pacific said the man in question had threatened aviation safety on board flight CX-872, which set off from Hong Kong on Wednesday. The man reportedly tried to open the cabin door. Crew members gave both verbal and written warnings, but to no avail. Police were called in for assistance after the plane reached San Francisco. The man was escorted by U.S. officers to disembark the flight. CX said no crew or passengers were injured in the incident. The police have joined hands with the education sector to form an anti-deception alliance. They hope the joint effort could help young people from falling victim to scams. Timothy Lee reports.
3, 2, 1.
Held at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, the launching ceremony of the Anti-Deception Alliance was attended by guests including former Chief Executive Lun Cheng-ying, Police Commissioner Raymond Siu, as well as Privacy Commissioner for Personal Data Ada Chung. The alliance was formed in April this year by the police force and another group, which aims to educate the next generation from being scammed in a world of ever-changing technology. Lun Cheng-ying, currently vice chairman of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, said strengthening scam prevention could reinforce the city's image as a global financial hub. Siu noted Hong Kong recorded some 29,000 fraud cases in just the first 8 months of this year. The figure accounted for 46% of all crimes and involved some $5.8 billion. Meanwhile, authorities recorded 327 naked chat blackmail cases involving students this year, with the youngest victim aged just 11 years old. The police commissioner added the alliance will work with various sectors in the city to prevent more young people from being deceived. As of last month, the Anti-Deception Alliance was joined by 2 universities, 3 post-secondary colleges, as well as 350 primary and secondary schools. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Chief Executive John Lee's latest policy address will be unveiled on Wednesday. The cover will continue to be in green color. Lee says green symbolizes Hong Kong's thriving development. Writing on his social media page, Lee said he will wear a green tie on October 16th, the day he delivers the policy blueprint. The tie and the hanger tie with skyscraper patterns were designed by teachers and students from the Polytechnic University of Hong Kong. Lee said it represents prosperity, and the crisscrossing lines symbolize how Hong Kong is an important bridge connecting China and the rest of the world. The United Nations peacekeeping force in southern Lebanon said new explosions hit its headquarters on Friday, injuring 2 peacekeepers a day after Israeli forces targeted the same position and struck central Beirut. Nasri Karim has more.
This initial attack on the United Nations peacekeeping headquarters in southern Lebanon drew widespread international condemnation. 2 Indonesian UNIFIL peacekeepers were injured. On Friday, it happened again, this time wounding 2 Sri Lankan soldiers.
This is a serious development, and UNIFIL reiterates that the safety and security of UN personnel and property must be guaranteed, and that the inviolability of UN premises must be respected at all times.
Italian Defense Minister Guido Crosetto, on a visit to Kosovo, had suggested the first attack could be a war crime. He said he spoke to Israel's Defense Minister, Yoav Gallant, and asked him, what happens next? Shall we try to respond? Italy has about 1,000 soldiers deployed in the area. Gallant also reportedly spoke to U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, who reiterated Washington's ironclad support for Israel and its right to defend itself, though favoring a diplomatic solution. This as Israel continues its bombardment of Lebanon. 8 people were killed in 2 strikes in Sidon and Bekaa Valley. The Lebanese military, which is separate from the group Hezbollah and is trying to stay out of the conflict, said 2 of its soldiers were killed in an airstrike at an army checkpoint. A farm worker from Thailand was killed in Israel after a strike by Hezbollah. The UN's Human Rights Office says the situation is becoming increasingly difficult for civilians in Lebanon, Gaza, Syria and Israel. Around 400,000 people in northern Gaza are threatened by the lack of aid flowing in because of Israeli operations.
Over the last week, the Israeli military has intensified operations in North Gaza, further severing the area from the rest of the Gaza Strip and risking afresh the lives of civilians in the areas.
Many other hospitals in the north now are running out of fuel. Most of the UN and humanitarian missions are not happening to the north. They're running out of fuel, specific medical supplies, and we are 1 year in this crisis.
Nasri Karim, TVB News.
Welcome back. Beleaguered U.S. aviation giant Boeing is announcing job losses. The giant aircraft maker said on Friday it will lay off about 10% of its workers in the coming months. That's about 17,000 people. The company has been losing money for more than 5 years and now is dealing with a strike that has shut down factories in the Seattle area. It has safety issues with its airlines as well as problems with its Starliner spacecraft. New CEO Kelly Ortberg says the job cuts will include executives, managers, and employees. Japan and anti-nuclear weapon activists are celebrating after this year's Nobel Peace Award went to a group of atomic bomb survivors advocating the end of nuclear weapons. Nasi Karim with more.
In traditional style, a street vendor hands out newspapers in Tokyo. The news, the Nobel Peace Prize for 2024 goes to Nihon Hidankyo, made up of hibakusha, or survivors from the 1945 atomic bombs dropped by the US on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. There are certain things only the Japanese could understand, this high school teacher said. This trader said the group should have won the award earlier, not 79 years after the attacks. He said he visited Hiroshima last year and cried. On August 6, 1945, the first nuclear weapon was used in warfare, exploding above Hiroshima. Days later, another bomb was dropped on Nagasaki. Hundreds of thousands of people were killed, and many more suffering horrific injuries that lasted for decades. Izumi Nakamitsu is Japanese. She is also the United Nations High Representative for Disarmament Affairs, wishing she was in Japan to congratulate Nihon Hidankyo.
Just imagine you go through atomic bombings and such catastrophic experiences, very difficult experiences, probably you would not want to remember. But these hibakushas are very brave and decided to share their catastrophic experiences to the world public in order for the world to make movements towards peace and nuclear disarmament.
The International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons is an activist group for the elimination of nuclear weapons and won the Nobel Prize in 2017. Its former executive director said she is delighted for Nihon Hidankyo.
We're partners in this fight, and I think that it's just quite emotional today because the survivors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they really know nuclear weapons the best, right? They're the real experts. They know how it feels like, how it looks like, how it smells when your city is burning from nuclear weapons use.
Tomoyuki Mimaki, the group's Hiroshima branch executive, screamed and teared up when he heard the news. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
Back locally on International Tai Chi Day today, over 750 teachers and students performed the martial arts together. Organized by Tai Chi Academy International, the event held in Wong Tai Sin also aims to celebrate the 75th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China. Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development Eljinan Yao is among the officials in attendance. Chief Executive John Lee officiated at the ceremony via video link. Lee said Tai Chi is a key aspect of Chinese culture. A Vincent Van Gogh painting was sold recently in Hong Kong by an Italian princess, fetching 250 million Hong Kong dollars. We spoke with the seller, Princess Camilla of Bourbon Two Sicilies, on why she picked Hong Kong to auction off her artwork. And she said Hong Kong is a fantastic gateway between East and West with a strong legal system and sound economic infrastructure. Princess Camilla of Bourbon Two Sicilies, a prominent art collector, is the daughter of late Italian billionaire Camillo Corciani and actress Eddie Vassell. She was in Hong Kong in recent weeks to sell Le Canot Amoré by Vincent Van Gogh through auction house Christie's. TVB News spoke to her and asked why she chose Hong Kong as a place for her Van Gogh painting to go under the hammer. So as a veteran art connoisseur, Princess, what advantages and edge does Hong Kong have as an art and auction hub to not just Asian buyers, but also international and European buyers of art?
We want a diverse audience, and I think Asian people do appreciate now very much Western art, and we are learning how to also learn more about Asian art. So it's an exchange, a cultural exchange, like Chao Wu-chi, who I love very much for its abstractive, fantastic artwork.
The painting, the Canot Amoré, fetched 250 million Hong Kong dollars at auction, the highest price for a Van Gogh painting ever sold in Asia. The Italian princess also said art can be conduits of understanding across regions which transcend geopolitics.
Geopolitical tensions are not easy and often very difficult to deal with. I think that the only way, in my case, is to speak about art and culture and history, because after all, I'm a passionate of history. I represent also history through my name and 1,000 years of history. I think that if we go towards art, it's really the best way forward, because the art word is not geopolitical. The art word unites everyone, and it's a form of language which is so important.
She said the royal house of Bourbon Two Sicilies is a royal family that ruled the south of Italy for over 100 years in the 17th and 18th centuries. During her Hong Kong trip, Princess Camilla also met with Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development Eljinan Yao and visited Cyberport.
The Chinese have a way to move very fast and for everything, constructions, technology, everything. And I think step by step, China is coming back. The business people start to come back in China.
Princess Camilla now has family offices in various cities, overseeing her financial portfolio, including estate planning, investments, and philanthropy. They include Singapore and Monte Carlo. She's now mulling the possibility of starting another family office here in Hong Kong, as she continues to explore more business opportunities around the region. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.